My name is Sonia Shida. I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager here at MuleSoft, and I've had the pleasure of working on our MuleSoft for Agentforce launch, which we're really excited to introduce to you in this session. But before I dive into the content, Yogesh, would you like to take a moment and introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, sure, Sonia. Hello, everyone. My name is Yogesh Dhimate. I'm in the product management team here at MuleSoft. I recently boomeranged to MuleSoft and very excited to see all these innovations that are happening at MuleSoft. I know a lot of familiar faces from the community. Back in 2019, I was leading MuleSoft meetup group back in Columbus, Ohio. So I want to express my gratitude to this community. Like, thank you for all your work in evangelizing Mule capabilities, trying out new things, and helping our customers become successful with their Mule journey.
Awesome. I love it, Yogesh. It's full circle for you. Started with the MuleSoft community, and now you're back here. All right, cool. We're going to hear from Yogesh in just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and kick things off and run through an overview of what MuleSoft Agent Fabric is, why we built it, some of the challenges that it solves, as well as run through the core product capabilities of Agent Fabric. And then I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Yogesh, who's going to run through a demo. So you're going to be able to see the product in action. So why don't we go ahead and dive in? Okay, so just to set the scene here, I know that you're all very familiar with this narrative here. We know that the average customer has nearly 900 different applications in their business, and that leads us to that disconnected that we hear so much about. Now, what is compounding this experience? Oops, sorry, my computer's getting ahead of myself. Is that today there is a new kind of fragmentation that's accelerating. So AI agents are popping up everywhere. They are being embedded within SaaS platforms, they're being built in-house, and they're even being packaged up with popular LLMs. So as our agents are really multiplying everywhere, organizations are now facing this potentially unmanageable explosion of disconnected silos. And we know with Agentforce, this isn't necessarily the problem because you have built-in guardrails, a trust layer, and orchestration, all packaged within Agentforce. But in those other agents, well, not every SaaS vendor has trust as their number one value, and experimenting with building agents yourself, it's really complex and difficult to build in the management and the governance at scale. So that leads us to the following problem, is that each agent may promise to streamline its tasks within its own application, but they're often blind to the broader enterprise. They're unable to orchestrate actions across different domains. They're lacking the guardrails for secure and cross-system collaboration. So as more and more of these agents get built and onboarded, these challenges only compound. So you lose track of which agents are being deployed and where, leading to siloed agents and trapped value. Your agents aren't able to find the right tools, resources, and other agents that they need to get work done, leading to inconsistent experiences. And overall, this lack of control and visibility exposes your organizations to security and compliance risk. And then lastly, limited insight into how agents operate, make decisions, and how agents operate and make decisions, limit process improvement, and leave you with inefficient workflows. So important to note here that the proliferation of agents is inevitable and it's an exciting thing, but struggling with these challenges is not. So now is the time to take control and harness the explosion of agents. And the good news is that we've been down this path before. Many of you, I'm sure, recognize a lot of the challenges that I just walked through. So for nearly 2 decades, MuleSoft has been the leader in helping customers unlock and compose their disconnected apps and systems in a very secure and scalable manner with reusable APIs. And now we're solving that same problem for agents. So in addition to composing, governing, and managing APIs, MuleSoft now enables you to orchestrate, govern, and manage all of your agents. And we're helping our organizations do this in a way that's scalable and future-proof. So that's why we launched MuleSoft Agent Fabric. MuleSoft Agent Fabric turns uncontrolled agents into a governed and highly coordinated intelligent network. brings all of your agents into a single place so that they can be easily discovered. It enables you to execute more complex processes that require multiple agents and tools with security and governance at the forefront. And it gives you a holistic view of all of your agent interactions, no matter where that agent was built or where it's hosted. So essentially with MuleSoft Agent Fabric, you are going to be able to govern any agent anywhere, orchestrate agents across ecosystems, and observe every agent interaction. So essentially, MuleSoft Agent Fabric really maximizes the value of all of your agents by making them discoverable and capable of working together to solve these complex business processes, and governance and visibility are at the forefront. So that is an overview and introduction to MuleSoft Agent Fabric. So in terms of the capabilities that are packaged in with this new solution, well, it really centers around on these 4 pillars. So it all starts with discovery. So with Agent Fabric, you get a central registry where every agent, no matter of where it's built, is cataloged, and it's made easy to find, reuse, and compose into the solutions. Next is orchestration. So with Agent Fabric, you have the ability to connect and coordinate agents across the different ecosystems so that multi-step processes can run smoothly and agents can work together to deliver the right outcome. Then we have governance. So these are the guardrails that ensure that every interaction is consistent, compliant, and secure so that innovation can happen with confidence. And then finally, the 4th pillar is observing. So end-to-end visibility into how agents make decisions, how they perform, turning that black box of AI into very transparent, accountable systems. So together, these 4 capabilities really transform disconnected agents into a unified and trusted digital workforce. Now, before I hand it over to Yogesh, I just want to double click a little bit into each of these product capability pillars. So in turn, this is really the first step towards building that coordinated agent ecosystem. So with MuleSoft Agent Registry, our enterprises are going to get a single catalog for every AI agent or asset, whether that's built in-house, embedded in SaaS, or sourced externally. So essentially, our developers and even agents are going to be able to dynamically discover and reuse existing assets, helping them accelerate innovation while preventing duplication. So this is how we make those agent ecosystems composable, scalable, and easy to manage. And one thing to note here is that MuleSoft Agent Registry is built up on top of existing Anypoint Exchange. So it's an interface and a solution that you're already familiar with. And we know that discovery alone you also need orchestration. So that's where MuleSoft Agent Broker comes in. So this is the intelligent routing and coordination service that connects agents across different domains, and it ensures that the right agent is engaged at the right time. So by dynamically matching tasks with the best fit agent and enabling this seamless collaboration across ecosystems, the broker is able to pull those agents. It turns those scattered agents into a high-performing coordinated workforce. So this is how complex multi-step processes can execute seamlessly behind the scenes. So for our customers, this means that tasks are routed intelligently, redundant work is eliminated, and outcomes are delivered faster and more consistently without humans needing to manage all of these different handoffs. Now, the 3rd pillar, a double click into it. So without governance, orchestration, we know the chaos. So with MuleSoft Agent Governance, we are able to use Flex Gateway as well as MCP and ADA to enforce guardrails that enterprises need. So what we're able to do is apply consistent policies, compliance controls across every agent interaction, regardless of where that agent runs. So you can think of this as an enterprise policy framework for your entire agent network and ensure that your agents act responsibly, securely, and in alignment with your business objectives. So governance here is really what ensures that our enterprises can scale with confidence instead of risk. And then last but not least, we bring it all home with Agent Visualizer. So this tool works to untangle multi-agent interactions by turning them into very clear interactive maps. So with these maps, you can trace decisions, you can monitor real-time health, you can detect bottlenecks or risks like hallucinations all before they actually impact any outcomes. So by giving IT and business leaders visibility into how agents are performing, visualizer builds trust in our AI-powered workflows, and enables our teams to unlock continuous optimization. So that is kind of an overview of Agent Fabric as well as the four product capabilities. So now I'd love to turn it over to Yogesh, who's going to walk through a demo.
Thank you, Sonia. Let me share my screen. I think you might want to turn off sharing. Thank you. All right. Let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, so we'll, for the demo, we'll start with a business problem, and that will help you understand how these different components of Agent Fabric solve a complex use case. So here, the business problem is a hypothetical company, Acme. They want to onboard 500 new sales reps. They are seeing tremendous growth in the market after their blockbuster product launch, and the IT manager has invited their lead developer, Janice, to accelerate the employee onboarding, right? So obviously, onboarding 500 employees manually is going to take a lot of time. They are going to lose opportunity if this isn't accelerated. So Janice is thinking about how to solve this problem intelligently. She looks at the employee onboarding process steps at Acme and identifies there are 5 critical tasks that need to be performed for successful employee onboarding. So these are listed here, right? So the first one is fetching employee from talent pool in-house application, then creating that employee profile in Workday, which is their HR management application, then creating sales rep profile in Salesforce, provisioning employee badge, and then provisioning IT assets such as laptop, etc. via Zendesk. And Janice wants to use MuleSoft to facilitate this onboarding. So she decides to start with MuleSoft Agent Fabric. So if you remember Sonia's presentation, there are 4 key pillars that she talked about. There is a discover component, which has agent registry that catalogs, surfaces, use agents and tools across ecosystem. There is an orchestration layer, which conducts processes across agents and systems with intelligent routing. The governance layer applies security and compliance policies to every agent interaction. And then with Agent Visualizer, you can gain visibility into agent to agent relationships and interactions. Okay? So Janice begins to start by discovering agents in the registry. She logs on onto any point platform and goes to Exchange and looks at what all assets are available specifically from agentic interaction perspective. So she filters down the A2A and MCP assets and sees that there are already 4 assets out of the 5 necessary steps that she needs to perform. So there is a badging agent, Zendesk agent, Workday agent, and Salesforce agent already available. There is still like one component missing, which is the talent pool MCP server that she wants to use, right? She clicks on the badging agent and understand what this badging agent is. It also showcases the agent card URL, which is essentially the endpoint along with the metadata information about the badging agent. And the first task she wants to accomplish is building this MCP server for talent pool. She wants to use AI to build talent pool MCP tool. So she's going to use Cursor with MuleSoft's MCP server to build this talent pool MCP tool. She spins off Cursor and tells Cursor that, hey, I want to design talent pool API that a broker agent will call during employee onboarding. And ask Cursor to write an API specification using RAML and tells Cursor that the API should let her list profiles, create profile by ID, and create a profile. And ultimately, she's going to use these tools in the employee onboarding process. She gives permissions to cursor, and cursor creates a raml spec, which she can see here right in the editor, right? I'm sure all of you must have used our MCP capabilities, either using IDEs as well as Mule Dev Agent that was just launched last week. Once API specification is ready, she reviews the API specification and publishes it to Exchange by giving a natural language prompt to cursor and tells cursor to publish this API to Anypoint Exchange. The API is published to Exchange. Janice goes back to Exchange and sees that the talent pool API is now available in Exchange. Now, this is just regular API spec, right? We still need to do API implementation as well as converting this API into an MCP tool that can be used in an orchestration. Before that, Janice goes to API specification in Exchange, and here, you can notice there is a generate documentation button to generate documentation of this API using AI. So she clicks on the generate documentation button, and it generates the documentation in Exchange. So this is pretty comprehensive documentation that AI has generated in Exchange, which provides all the information an API consumer needs, all the query parameters, request and response examples, security constraints, etc. So all of those are here in the documentation. Janice goes back to cursor and asks Anypoint code builder to create implementation using this API specification. So cursor kickstart the process and implements an API with data view, transform steps, create profile, return response, etc. All the steps that are required from API implementation perspective. But key thing that Janice wants to do here is create this as a MuleSoft MCP server. Using the MCP connector that we have, cursor creates an MCP server by converting this API into an MCP server and adds three MCP tools: list profiles, get profile by ID, and create profile. So here you can see there are three tools, three MCP tools that are added on top of this API. And this MCP server is now ready to get published back to Exchange. Janice publishes the API back to Exchange, the MCP server back to Exchange, and now she has all these 5 components ready to create an orchestration process for employee onboarding. So this, if you think from the life cycle perspective, the first step of discovery and building necessary components, we have accomplished that, right? So now let's look at the orchestration steps, where how Janice can orchestrate these agents as well as tools to assemble the complex onboarding business process. For that, Janice is going to use Anypoint Code Builder. And before we jump into Anypoint Code Builder, I want to paint this picture of how orchestration really works, right? So MuleSoft Agent Broker is similar to a regular Mule app that is packaged, or rather contained in your Flex Ingress gateway as well as Flex Egress gateway, and deployed in CloudHub 2.0. Agent Broker orchestrates tasks between agents as well as MCP servers. So what we are going to do is create an orchestration workflow using this new component that we have launched last week, which will accomplish the orchestration between agents as well as servers and deploy it to CloudHub 2.0 along with Flex Ingress and Egress configurations. Jenny spins off any point code builder, and again, using natural language prompt, tells any point code builder to create a broker using these four agents and the talent pool MCP server that she just built. And the broker, which essentially is this YAML file, is created by any point code builder. So I'm just going to step to the next step. Now, I think there was a question before I started presenting my screen whether broker uses an LLM for reasoning and orchestration, right? So the answer is yes. So the structure of broker looks like this. So at the topmost level, there is broker group, which contains multiple brokers. Each broker contains your agents, MCP tools, and other components that you want to include in a broker. Broker uses LLM. So at the time of launch, we are supporting OpenAI Direct API and Azure OpenAI for reasoning. And here, I don't know if you can see the instructions here, where you tell broker how it should accomplish the task using the available assets that are contained in the broker. So once this broker is designed, Genis uses any point code builder to publish broker back to exchange, and broker is available now in exchange, right? So now everything that is needed from orchestration perspective, those building blocks, the agents, MCP server, as well as broker, everything is available in exchange now for Genis to start using the broker. Now, the key, another key step here in agentic journey is enforcing governance policies on agents, right? So agents, you want to make sure that there are security policies, there are compliance policies, not only for the enterprise but also from any government regulation perspective, that are consistently applied not only to APIs and integration but also to agents, MCP servers, and A2A interactions, right? So that's this facilitated by API manager in any point platform. So Genis logs in back to any point platform and goes to, first goes to runtime manager where all these agents are deployed on Flex Gateway. Here, she can see the ingress and egress gateway that we looked at in the architecture diagram just a few minutes back. And to actually manage policies on these agentic assets, she needs to go to API manager here. She looks at Flex Gateway configuration, looks at different metrics such as API capacity, average CPU usage, memory usage, etc. But ultimately, what she wants to do is apply policies to these agentic interactions. So let's go to API manager. Here are all the APIs and agents that are being managed by Flex Gateway. And for the demonstration purpose, we are going to use this Zendesk agent to apply some policies. So here in Zendesk agent, Janice clicks on the policies link here, and there are four policies from A2A perspective that are available out of the box. The three policies are already applied. There is a prompt decorator policy which decorates prompt with necessary contextual information. There is agent card policy that rewrites the agent card URL to match the public URL of the gateway. So it provides ready to use consumable information in the metadata. There is a PII detector policy that detects PII information in requests sent to agent, and it can either log that information for compliance purpose or even refuse any interaction that includes PII data. As well as there is a schema validation. While it is not currently applied, you can of course apply that as well, that verifies request to the agent is compliant with the A2A specification. So applying policy to agent is exactly similar to applying policy to any other integration asset or API. So you go to add inbound policy and configure it. Now, the API manager also shows additional key metrics such as how many requests were received by this agent over time, were there any policy violations, the error happening on the agent, as well as average response time, just to get comprehensive view of that behavior of that agent, like capturing non-functional requirement, quality of service metrics, etc. Now the agent is deployed, and Janice wants to test this agent via Slack. So if you remember the architecture diagram at the very left, Slack was the user interface that was interacting with this employee onboarding agent. So Janice logs on to Slack and gives instruction to the agent via Slack to onboard a new employee, Alex Smith, and provides his email ID, alexsmith@example.com. And here the broker, the orchestration kicks off and starts identifying, what are those different steps that need to be performed to onboard this employee, right? So there were, basically 5 steps, including onboarding employee to Salesforce, Workday, Zendesk. There was interaction to talent MCP pool. So orchestration is performed across all these integration touch points, and the onboarding is happening in real time here. So onboarding, starts with creating CRM profile. There was another question I noticed, whether there is a human in the loop in this orchestration process, right? So the broker supports various interaction patterns, including human in the loop. So here, human in the loop is there where it is asking for additional information, whether you want to assign a territory to this user, right? Janice provides information about the necessary territory, and then onboarding continues with the necessary orchestration tasks that need to be accomplished. So the agent has completed Workday and Salesforce onboarding and working on next steps. And as it progresses through remainder of the steps, it completes all the tasks that are required, including provisioning CRM profile, submitting laptop delivery request in Zendesk, initiating a badge request, as well as additional administrative tasks such as ping ID, account for employee, etc. Now the onboarding is done from AI lifecycle perspective. We looked at discovery, we looked at orchestration, as well as governance. And last piece of the agent fabric is observation, right? So Janice observes these agent interactions using the visualizer. So this is very similar to API or integration visualizer that was available in Anypoint Exchange. We are extending that capability to agents, MCP tools, LLM interactions as well. Janice logs in back to Anypoint platform, and first, she goes to monitoring and looks at the various interactions that are happening under the hood, right? So here you can see the ingress components, the broker component, etc. That is there in the architecture. I'm interested in looking into the broker component, right? So when I click on the broker component here, it shows me the complete trace of this orchestration, right? So it starts from the ingress, where MuleFlow has kicked in. There is a try catch block, implementing the best practices of Mule application development. But the broker itself, it is accomplishing these different tasks that we define in the YAML file. There is talent pool MCP, which was the first step, followed by Workday agent invocation, handing off that task to Salesforce agent. Here you can notice that Salesforce agent took the most of the actual time in the interaction, like about 2 seconds. Then it is giving that breadcrumb or feedback back to Slack, getting additional information from Slack as well by using Slack MCP server, calling Zendesk agent for laptop provisioning, and badging agent to submit requests to get a badge created for the employee. And lastly, the identity profile creation with Ping ID agent. So this is one view in monitoring, but what's more interesting is the visualizer. So while the slide says it is coming soon, it's actually generally available. I need to update this slide, but this gives a single pane of glass, or really like a visual map of different agents working together to accomplish the task, right? So the employee onboarding broker that we looked at, it is connecting to Zendesk, Workday, badging, Salesforce agents, as well as this talent pool MCP server to accomplish the task. And there will be additional capabilities that we will be launching, which will provide more, granular information, such as not only the MCP server, but what is the specific tool interaction that is happening at MCP server level in our coming releases. So this is the quick demo, uh, and here how you can see Genis used Agent Fabric to scale onboarding, how to use different components of Agent Fabric. Again, all of these are loosely coupled, so depending on your customer's use case, obviously recommended to use the entire life cycle. But if your customer is only interested in using registry component of it to get the single source of truth of all the agents, MCP servers, LLM interactions in one place, they can start with Exchange. They can just start with governance layer and apply those security and compliance policies consistently across all agentic assets. But obviously the whole agent fabric is available at their disposal to accomplish complete agentic orchestration use cases as well. So with that, I'll stop sharing my screen, and we can look at maybe if there are any questions that we can answer.
Thank you both. First of all, thank you both so much for your time today. A really captivating session, as apparent by the many, many questions we have received. Folks, I am going to give priority to the attendees who posted in our Q&A tab, and we'll work through those first. And if we have time, we can go back through chat to suggest any other questions. Yogesh, you did a great job of addressing a lot of these live, but I might revisit just a couple to make sure we really hone in on some points here. And folks, if maybe they missed something, we can revisit some of the questions. Apologies, I do think my internet might be lagging, so let me know if you need me to repeat anything. A lot of folks have questions around whether or not cursor is mandatory for the agent creation, or can they do the same with ACB?
Yeah, so cursor is not mandatory for agent creation. So Mule is giving you flexibility to use whatever AI IDE you want to use. So you can, of course, use cursor, Windsurf, Tray, or any AI IDE you prefer. We also launched Mule Dev Agent last week, which is available in any point code builder. The benefit of using Mule Dev Agent is it uses Einstein LLM under the hood. All those calls happening to Einstein LLM are unmetered. So unlike using Cursor or third-party IDE where you have to pay for that LLM consumption, using Mule Dev Agent, you can use Einstein LLM with unmetered access to continue building your Mule applications. We have also seen significant improvements in terms of accuracy as well as performance when you use Mule Dev Agent. I'll also share a link to a blog where our engineering team has published some data points and metrics that talks about effectiveness and accuracy of Mule Dev Agent, right? So like long-winded answer, like you don't have to use Cursor. Our recommendation is to use Mule Dev Agent for any AI task that you want to accomplish for your Mule development, administration, or operations.
Thank you. And then how does Anypoint Code Builder or ACB know how to generate a broker to orchestrate all those agents / MCP servers?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yes. How does Anypoint Code Builder know how to generate a broker to orchestrate all those agents / MCP servers?
How does it know? Yeah. So, if you look at any coding agent, right, under the hood, it uses MCP servers to understand how to accomplish the tasks. So, any Python code builder with Mule Dev agent comes built in with Mule MCP server, right? So, it obviously, it goes to LLM, does the reasoning, and identifies what are the specific steps to perform, which tells the agent that, hey, in order to like do the orchestration using broker, it needs to combine these agents together, connect with an MCP server, connect with an API, and then it uses Mule MCP server to create or generate this YAML file to accomplish the task.
Thank you. Is prompting the only way to create Fabric network/broker?
Yes, yeah. So we are making it simple actually to how to create a Fabric or broker. The recommended way to use your natural language prompt in conjunction with Mule Dev Agent. You can obviously write out the YAML file manually, but this is really like, there are really two files that you need. There is an exchange .json, the configuration file that maintains your um, agent, like endpoints, LLM endpoints, credentials, etc. And YAML file is essentially your structure of the broker. So there is no flow XML or like other additional dependencies that you need to create a broker.
Mm-hmm. So this is in relation to a question you already answered, but around like, does MuleSoft Agent Broker use an LLM for its intelligent routing? But the second
Yeah.
part to that question is, can it do multi-turn and HITL? We might need to get some more specification on that one.
Multi-turn. Yeah, so it can do multi-turn and human in the loop. Yes, human in the loop. So in the demo, you might have seen that there was human in the loop where broker, like the agent asks whether there is a specific region that the employee should be onboarded to. So yes, you can obviously have human in the loop, and we will continue supporting more patterns in terms of agentic orchestration.
Thank you for the clarification. Now I know a new acronym. AI has just exploded with these new acronyms. Human in the loop is a new one for me. Does a MuleSoft Agent Fabric come as a part of the normal advanced integration license, or is this separate?
So the different components of agent fabric require different entitlements, right? So the discover piece, which is primarily the anypoint exchange, the agent registry, it comes with your base subscription of API or integration SKU. You don't need any add-on components. The other components, whether it is orchestration, governance, as well as visualizer, if you remember the reference architecture diagram, all of them require Flex Gateway, and the broker as well as all these components need to be deployed on Cloud Hub 2.0, right? So those are some of the things that you need in terms of additional entitlement to have a functioning broker experience.
Okay, and maybe this question relates to what you were just saying, but does MuleSoft have a plan to support Fabric components in connected mode of Flex Gateway? I see this supports only managed and runtime Fabric.
So I don't know the answer to that question on top of my head. I can check with our product team and we can answer this for the community later.
Great, now we're kind of getting into error handling a little bit. So what would happen if there's an error in any agent while processing? How are error scenarios handled by Agent Broker?
So, this will really depend on how you're orchestrating business processes, right? So if there is an error that is happening in that sandbox, or the boundary within that agent, that specific agent will be responsible for handling the error gracefully. So for example, in the employee onboarding use case, one of the steps that the broker is performing is provisioning CRM profile with Salesforce agent, right? And what if that CRM profile creation fails? So that will be the responsibility of CRM agent or Salesforce agent to handle that error gracefully. And implementation is like up to whoever built that agent. They can probably park that task in a queue and pick it up later. They can throw the error back and have user attempt that task again. So really, like, it's up to how you want to architect this whole process. There are obviously all different best practices available depending on specific enterprises need.
Mhm. I was seeing a few questions around official documentation, specifically around guides on how to create a broker. I believe, I don't want to misspeak here, but I believe official documentation has been released, and I can do my best to locate that and paste those links into the chat
Yeah.
just shortly here.
Yeah, official documentation is available. It is available on docs.mulesoft.com. And it is in, like, so there are multiple pieces of the platform that are in play here, right? So designing a broker or configuring this YAML file is done by Anypoint Code Builder. So actual design piece, you will find it Anypoint Code Builder documentation. Whereas the more administrative components such as applying policies, visualizing the agentic network, those will be more on the governance monitoring in those sections.
Thank you. And Yogesh, I don't know if you would know the answer to this or if I should hand this off to our counterparts who are working on Mule Dev Agent, but what are the differences between MuleSoft MCP Server, the release earlier this year, and the new Mule Dev Agent? Can they say that the Mule Dev Agent is using tools provided by the MuleSoft MCP Server? Would that be correct?
Yes, yeah, you're absolutely correct. So Mule Dev Agent is using tools provided by Mule MCP Server. You can, of course, use Mule MCP Server with third-party IDEs. The real difference between Mule Dev Agent and other IDEs, like as I mentioned, I'll just like repeat that answer, is Mule Dev Agent is much more effective, like accurate. So I'm just sharing this link here where we have published some data points around quality of generative output. And also Mule Dev Agent uses unmetered Einstein LLM models, right? So you don't have to pay for that model access.
And could you speak to using the agents in a hybrid development setup?
So I don't know what do we mean by hybrid development setup?
Yeah, maybe,
So,
maybe you can add some color in the chat, and we'll come back to that one. Oh wow, we the questions keep coming. Okay, one second. I just want to make sure we're getting to the folks who submitted in the chat. Oh wow. Okay. Here we are. With this approach, can we say that we just need to develop system API tools for agent/MCP servers, and the rest of the orchestration is dynamically taken care of by Agent Fabric orchestration? In parentheses, no traditional process APIs are required.
well, so I would not say that is the right architecture to think about. So you don't want to expose system APIs as is as MCP servers, right? So the very reason MCP protocol is there is it's more abstracted from your individual system level interactions. So you really should be packaging your multiple system API call with process APIs, and then expose those process or even experience APIs as tools instead of handing off all that complexity or cognitive burden to LLM. So there is also this concept of context rot in the world of AI, where the more information you give to agents, the poor or LLMs, the poor they perform, right? So you really need to like make sure that your principles of building APIs, whether it is system, process, or experience, they're still there. You want to wrap those APIs and expose the critical functionality as MCP tools, and use agents for interacting with those tools, right? So the agentic interaction doesn't invalidate or disintermediates your process and experience APIs, in my opinion.
Great. Okay, folks, I think we're going to just do two more questions here and then we'll adjourn for the day. Is there a need of data weave transformations between agents and agent brokers so that profiles are created successfully in Workday or Salesforce?
So if you look at the agent broker, the YAML file or the broker configuration file, there are no individual Mule components in there, right? So there is no logger, there is no data wave component, or there is no individual connectors in there. So all like low level transformation between different data types and formats, you should really be accomplishing those in your APIs and expose those as MCP tools, or wrap those as agents, and then broker just perform the orchestration. You don't want to do the low level transformation in the broker itself.
Great. And then last question, folks are really curious, is this available now to get hands-on with? What would they have access to if they just have an existing Anypoint platform license?
So yeah, if they have access to Anypoint, like base subscription, obviously they can go and try out the registry, which is one of the most popular use cases that we are seeing with our customers. Customers, like Sonia mentioned, there is this agentic sprawl where every interaction and experience is providing an agent, and creating some sort of having your own perspective point of view on how to bring these assets together in exchange would be really something that you should immediately get started on, and that is available right out of the box with even your trial license, right? The additional components you need, it will really depend on whether you have access to Flex Gateway, Anypoint monitoring like Titanium subscription, Cloud Up 2.0, etc. So why your employer with your actual real subscription, you might have access to these, and you can go through the documentation. Of course, reach out back to us for any clarification, etc.
Awesome. Thank you again both for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time to answer everyone's questions and present on these new capabilities. Folks, in the chat, I've gone ahead and linked to Agent Fabric release notes. You can take a look there. They also link out to specific documentation for each pillar. So you should be able to find everything you need through that link. If not, I'm also pasting a link to join our MuleSoft Community Slack workspace. If you're not already a member of it, this is not a new workspace. It's our existing MuleSoft Community workspace. But if you're not already a member and you want to stay up to date on the latest releases and enablement sessions, this is a great place to join. And I will also be sending out the recording today via email. So for those of you who are RSVP'd, you will automatically receive an email from me. And we'll also be pasting that recording in our Slack workspace as well. So if you're not already a member, we highly encourage you to join us over there. Again, thank you both so much for your time today. And thank you to our attendees for joining us at all hours of the night and day. We so appreciate you being here and helping us evangelize the latest on MuleSoft. Thank you all.
Thank you.